I ran a poll on Instagram the other day and I asked you guys what kind of videos you wanted to see from me and my YouTube, and a lot of you wanted to see videos of my editing process. So in today's video, I'm gonna be doing exactly that. I'm gonna be showing you guys what I do and what I think about when I'm editing photos. Now, if you want to save yourself about 10 minutes, the long answer made short is I basically use my presets and then just make fine adjustments depending on the lighting situation that I was in. And I do that for most of my photos on Instagram. I'm not even gonna lie. For about 99% of my photos on Instagram, all I did was I used one of my presets, I adjusted for the lighting and called it a day. And the reason for that is because as a photographer, I wanna make sure I have the most efficient and streamlined editing process. And for me, I just genuinely like the way my presets make my photos look, and they work very well with my lighting style. So for the most of the time, I really don't need to do much other than just add a preset and make some minor adjustments. But I know that you guys didn't come here just to see me slap on some presets on my photos. So in today's video, I'm gonna be going through and editing each photo from scratch so you guys can kind of see what I'm thinking about when I'm editing my photos. But long story short, just get my presets if you want to edit like me. Before we start this video, as always, make sure to subscribe and like. It really does help this channel grow. I appreciate every single one of you that does. We just hit 6K subscribers, which is phenomenal. Thank you guys so much for the support. And while you're at it, go ahead and drop a comment in the comment section below. It helps the algorithm push my videos to new viewers, which is always appreciated. With that out of the way, let's go ahead and jump on my computer and I will show you guys my entire editing process. So like I said earlier, what I normally do is I usually just go in and I slap a preset on and I basically just make minor adjustments. But I know you guys don't want to see that. You want to see my actual full editing workflow. So I'm going to go in and show you guys just that. So once I have my photo in Lightroom, the first thing I always do is I always start off with a crop. I like to post on Instagram, so I always go in and I adjust my crop so that it is Instagram friendly. I level my horizons and then I try to follow the rule of thirds. So for this photo, you can't see the face obviously, but I can kind of gauge where the face is. The face is going to be, if the book wasn't in the frame, the face would be right there. So you always want to level your face in any of these cross sections or in one of these boxes. So for this one, obviously I can't see the face, but I know where it is. So I'm just going to put it right there and boom. That is already looking like a much stronger photo. Obviously, I couldn't shoot this exactly how I wanted because it was a very tight space, but this comes pretty close to what I want. Next thing I do is I then go in and I adjust for the exposure. So obviously I want this to still be a very dark photo, but I want some of that detail to come back. So I increase the exposure a little bit. And then with highlights, there's not a lot of highlights in this photo, but I'm gonna just kind of leave it as is. If changing these settings doesn't add or subtract to the photo, I usually just typically leave it as is. So for this photo, I'm going to drop the shadows just a little bit. I'll drop it to like -20. And then the whites, I'm going to kind of take the whites away so there's like a flatter look to it. I just like my photos to look kind of flat. And then with the blacks, I'm either going to bring them all the way up or just kind of leave them as is. For this photo, I think I'm going to leave it as is because I just like how the overall look is already. Then what I do is I jump all the way to the bottom and I go to calibration. So usually I just keep it at, I usually keep white balance as shot. But for some times when like the camera obviously didn't balance it right, I will just go to auto. For this photo, I feel like auto looks a little bit cleaner, so I'm just gonna keep it at auto. Then I'm going to jump down to calibration, and in calibration is where I kind of start fiddling with the colors. So the reason I start with calibration and not the HSL sliders is because calibration is going to adjust all of the pixels in the photo, not just the certain hue. So for example, if you adjust the red saturation in the HSL slider, it's only going to be adjusting any pixel that has red information. If you go down to the calibration and you adjust the red slider, it's going to be adjusting all of the pixels, not just the ones that have red in it. So this is going to drastically change the way that your photo looks. Obviously in this photo, I want to keep the reds as red as possible. So I'm actually just going to boost a little bit of the saturation on this. I don't go too crazy with it. Don't go to the extremes because then your photo will start to fall apart even if you are shooting raw. Then greens, again, I want to keep it kind of more of a warm tone. So I'm going to just adjust this a little bit, add probably a little bit of a saturation, and then kind of just see what colors I like. So I'm liking it around there. So I'm going to do -25 on that. So quick before and after, you know, very slight changes, but you can kind of see that the colors are starting to look a little bit cleaner in my opinion. Then over here, I'm gonna add some blue to this side. So I'm gonna do probably like 20. And as you can see already, the colors look a lot more nostalgic, feeling a lot more filmic. And then I'm gonna come in and add some green to the shadows. Now I love adding green to my shadows because I just feel like it gives it a more filmic look. And as you guys know, I love the filmic look, even though I shoot digital. And when I'm done with that, I'd say that's pretty good. I'm gonna go and do the HSL sliders. So the reason I do it in this order is just because for me and my creativity, this is just the order that works best for me. You don't actually have to follow this order, but it's just what I think is most efficient for me. So for this picture, I want to add more red to it. So I'm going to go in and I'm going to increase the red. I'm going to increase the red a little bit, not too much that it's like overpowering everything else, but definitely increasing a little bit of the red. And then I'm going to just kind of play around with all the sliders and just see what looks cleaner to me. So I want that to be a little bit more green. The greens don't really do too much, but I kind of like it more on this side. And the thing with photos is you kind of need to have like a vision in your head before you even go into editing. So when I'm shooting with the intent to edit. So I know that if the colors don't look exactly how they look in the photo, I can always adjust it in post. So here I'm going to drop a little bit of the yellow and then keep that kind of the same. I just go through and honestly, I just play around with it. So once I'm done with the HSL slider, like I said, not doing too much on it. I'm gonna then usually go into the color grade, and then on here I like to either add a little bit of green or a little bit of blue into the shadows, and that just adds that little, you know, that filmic look. So I like to go to like 115 and set it to like 15. There we go. And then for the highlights, I'm gonna add a little bit of red. There we go, boom, just like that. So already, these are just the adjustments we've made. It's gone from this to this real quick. So then I go to sharpening, and I always turn my sharpening to 75, and then I always set my noise reduction to 15, even if there's no visible noise, just because it blends the colors a little bit better. And then usually I leave lens correction just off because I like to have a little bit of that character in my photos. And then I come down to grain, and actually before I go into grain, I'm going to go into the tone curve. So it depends on the photo, but for some photos I like to give a faded look. So for my faded look photos, I essentially I increase the bottom end of the S curve to about either 15 to 30. I think that's a good range. We'll just go to 20. And then I drop the curve on here a little bit. And then with the highlights, I also crush the highlights a little bit on that side. And then midtones, keep a little bit bright. And then, there you go, drop those highlights just a tad bit. And this is a quick before and after for that. So this is if you want to get like that faded look, and you can even take it a step further and go into the, oopsies. You can even take it a step further and go into the actual red, green, and blue channels. But for this photo, I don't really think I am. And for this photo, I'm going to keep the blacks really low. But let me show you guys what I mean by the S curve in the red, green, and blue sliders. In the red, green, and blue channel. So when you're in these channels, you still have these curves. But what you can do is this is going to subtract or add the specific color to that part of the spectrum. So if you're in your shadows and you want more red in the shadows, you can boost the red up here. And as you can see, it's just adding slightly more red into the shadows. And if you want more reds in the highlights, same thing up here, but I'm going to keep the reds pretty neutral on the top. And then same thing with the midtones. So I'm going to just do some adjustments with the tone curve in the RGB channels. Very minor adjustments are going to make a very big difference on how the photo feels. It's very hard to explain, but you can always just feel a difference in the photos when you dink around in these settings. So I'm going to just do some adjustments to here, but these are going to allow you to get the colors exactly how you want them because you're changing the values of either the shadow, midtones, or highlights independent of each other, and then independent of each channel. So this allows you to mix and match the colors a lot more. And obviously because I'm talking, I can't really concentrate that much, so I'm just gonna, you know, rush through it. But what I usually like to do is I like to go into the blue channel and I like to put more yellow into the highlights. And then in the shadows, I usually also put some yellow, and that's gonna just, again, very minor adjustments, but here's the tone curve off and here's the tone curve on. So it makes a really big difference, believe it or not. Even though those adjustments are very tiny, it makes a huge difference. Then from here, I'm going to finally go into the noise, and if I want to add some noise to the picture, I either do 25 or 50, and I leave the other two settings the same. So I'm going to do 25, and I leave the size as 25 and the roughness as 50. And if I zoom in, you can kind of see before and after. It adds a little bit of grain and it gives it a little bit more of that nostalgic film look, but it still provides a very clean image. And essentially, this is kind of how I grade my photos. So this is the before and this is the after. Like I said, I typically just use my presets. So let me show you guys how much faster my presets make my editing workflow. So let's go to this photo that everybody loved. And for this photo, again, I'm gonna line it up so that the eyes are either in one of these sections or on one of these lines. And that is just going to make the composition much stronger. Then I'm gonna go into my presets. And in my presets, I'm gonna go and just find a preset that I like. So this isn't gonna be the exact same preset that I used for the edit. Actually, it might be. There it is. So this is my old school film preset from my Nightcrawler preset pack. And as you can see, literally just one click and I already got a really nice look. So the reason that this kind of looks different is because it added some adjustments. I'm not gonna show you guys the adjustments just because, you know, if you guys want to get this preset, you can go and buy the preset pack. But as you can see, it adjusts a little bit, but it doesn't adjust too much, but it does give it that nice look. So part of the question I always get is, how do I get this glow? Part of it is in photo. So this is just the raw, or part of it is in camera. This is just the raw. You can see it's glowing a little bit, but part of it is in post with the editing. So with one little click, I was able just to go from this to that. And honestly, I think that's a really solid photo, and that's the photo that I uploaded. I absolutely love this photo the way that it is with just that preset, with just that preset applied, and that was good enough for me. Editing, you know, it doesn't have to be a really hard thing. And when you see my photos on like Instagram and stuff, the majority of the time I just use my presets. So as you saw in this photo, I just used my preset, I slapped it on, it was good to go. This one, I could have just used one of my presets. I actually have a preset that was almost exactly like the settings that I chose. But these would have taken me literally like a minute to edit at most. I obviously slowed it down for you guys so you guys can see my editing process, but this wouldn't have taken me as long as it did if I was doing my normal process of just slapping on a preset and then making fine adjustments. So this is why presets are very important, because if I had to go in and edit like this on every single photo from every single photo shoot that I did, I would be burned out so fast. The reason I have presets and the reason I sell them is because if you like the way I edit my photos, if you like the look of my photos, you can see how I edit my photos and you can see the settings that I use, and then you can kind of learn through using those on your own photos, because then you can see how those settings affect the certain lighting that you use for your photos. So as a beginner, I think one of the most beneficial things you can do is get presets from whatever photographer's style you like. Obviously it doesn't have to be mine, but if you do buy one of my presets, it is supporting me, which is awesome. So definitely consider it. But if you want to learn how to edit, just get yourself some presets from some of your favorite photographers and see what settings they used to get the certain look that they have. Basically what presets do is it allows the photographer that you like to edit your photos, because those are settings that photographer made. So if you wanted me to edit your photos, you could just get my presets and it would be as if I edited your photo for you. Obviously, you shouldn't just like rely on presets your whole life. You should learn how to make your own presets and learn how to edit your own photos. But having someone else edit your photos for you in the beginning is going to show you guys exactly what each tool does and exactly how to get certain looks, especially if it's a very niche look, kind of like mine. I'm going to wrap it up there. Thank you guys for watching. I know this video probably wasn't as exciting as a lot of you thought it was going to be, but I wanted to keep it as honest as possible. If you're a photographer, you need to streamline your system and you need to make it as efficient as possible. If you can save time editing, do yourself a favor and save time editing. I promise future you is going to thank you so much. But that's going to do it for this video. Thank you guys for watching. If you have any questions, leave them in the comment section below. I'll answer every single one of your questions. If you guys want to see me edit live, follow me on Instagram. I go live on Instagram every once in a while and show you guys my editing process for brand new photos before I upload them. So if you guys want to know what I've been up to, keep in touch on Instagram. Thank you guys for 6K, and I will see you in the next one. All right, see ya.